This over here is a Jeep Compass turbocharger and it was replaced for a new one. Huge shout out to the owner of the car for donating this to me for a video. So I decided to open it up and look for what failed in this turbocharger. Now we always think that the turbos fail for the obvious reason, which I thought as well. But I was completely wrong. Now if you have never seen what a turbocharger looks like, then this is what it looks like. And the only difference is that this one has been disassembled. This side is the compressor side and it compresses fresh air before it enters the engine. On the other side is the turbine, which is spun by the hot exhaust gases leaving the engine. And both of these are connected by a single shaft. So when the exhaust spins the turbine, the compressor also spins, forcing more air into the engine and allowing it to produce more power. Now of course, this is just a quick overview. If you really want to understand turbochargers, superchargers, variable geometry turbochargers and how all of these systems work together inside an engine, then I have covered them with detailed diagrams in my book Engine in a Nutshell. So if you seriously want to learn about engine technology, then you will definitely enjoy this book. Now that we know how it works, let's find out what went wrong with this one. Honestly, getting this thing to open was a real struggle. The bolts were unbelievably tight. Now yeah, of course they are meant to be that tight or else the gases would leak out, which is not something we want. So I literally had to hammer the spanner just to get enough torque to loosen all the bolts. The compressor housing came off easily, but the turbine housing gave a real fight because this one bolt was really stubborn. So I took it to my friend's place and we destroyed this bolt for good. And that's how we disassembled this one. So the first thing I checked was the shaft for any play. Now if I move this back and forth, then there is no axial play, and if I move this perpendicularly, then there is no radial play. And I did not expect this. This is usually the first thing people inspect in a turbocharger because this is the most common failing point in a turbocharger. You see, in a turbocharger housing, the shaft that connects the turbine and the impeller isn't really supported by any ball bearing inside this. Instead, they use hydrodynamic bearings, where everything is supported by the lubricating oil. So yeah, the engine oil is circulated through the turbo housing to keep the shaft well lubricated. So when there is some form of obstruction in oil supply, then there will be metal to metal contact between the shaft and the housing, leading it to failure. But based on our inspection, that doesn't seem to be the issue. Now the oil seals inside this housing can also wear out over time, which allows the engine oil to enter the turbine or the compressor side. And this often shows signs like excessive oil consumption or black and grey exhaust smoke. But I never noticed anything as such when the car was driven. So maybe these blades are broken. The compressor blades look in good shape. I see no sign of damage, and the turbine blade also looks perfect. So now I am pretty confused. If the shaft feels fine, the blades are in good condition, then why was this turbocharger replaced? I also checked these casings for any cracks, but I found nothing. So at this point I wanted to go deeper, so we decided to remove the shaft, and that's when I learned something interesting. We tried to open this nut on the shaft, but it wouldn't budge, and after quite some effort it broke, and that's when I realized that it had reverse threads. So our righty tighty and lefty loosey doesn't apply here, and manufacturers tend to do this because the direction of the rotation of the shaft would tend to loosen conventional threads. After this, yeah, definitely the shaft was free from the nut, but still it wouldn't come out. We also tried to hammer it out, but it didn't work. So we gave up on that plan, but while we were onto this, I noticed something really interesting. Look at this nut on the turbine end. At first I thought it required a special tool to hold it, but actually the material was intentionally removed from it. Why? Because balancing. Turbochargers spin at 2 lakh RPM, and at that speed, even tiny imbalance would create enormous amount of centrifugal forces. So the manufacturers carefully remove tiny amount of material to keep the assembly perfectly balanced. Also, this is not a nut, it is actually a part of the turbine and the shaft. And here's another interesting observation. This is a variable geometry turbocharger. Now in many diagrams, these vanes are often shown to be mounted on the turbine housing. But looking at the real component, we realize it is completely different. The vane actuating mechanism sits inside the turbine cover or the casing, directing exhaust gases on the turbine blade by changing the flow angle. There's one more thing that caught my attention. Look at these bolts. Notice how little space is available around them. A normal socket wrench simply won't fit here. I had to use open-ended and ring spanners throughout this teardown. Anyone who has used these tools would know that they tend to slip out, especially on high torque fasteners. Because of this, I started thinking, was this intentionally designed to discourage any repairs? Now at this point, I don't think we can confidently say that. But there can be many possible reasons behind this, like packaging constraints, manufacturing requirements, assembly line access, cost, and strength. But it does illustrate an important engineering compromise. Designing a product for manufacturing and assembly isn't always the same as designing it for servicing, because sometimes those goals work against each other. Now after all of this, did we actually discover why this turbocharger was replaced? Honestly, no. And that's probably the biggest lesson from this teardown. A turbocharger can look mechanically healthy from outside and still fail in service. Now maybe the VGT actuator can be faulty, which I was unable to check. So engineering isn't always about finding the answers immediately. Sometimes it's about ruling out every answer that doesn't fit the evidence. And surprisingly, that's exactly what happened with this turbocharger. I decided to make a video about a failed turbocharger. Instead, it became a lesson in how engineers investigate a problem. And honestly, I think this is turning out to be more interesting. By the way, engineers don't design variable geometry turbochargers just because they look cool. They were trying to solve one specific problem, the turbo lag. And VGT is one of many clever ways engineers have tried to eliminate turbo lag. If you find this teardown interesting, then you will definitely enjoy this next video, where I explain all the crazy engineering solutions developed over the years to eliminate turbo lag.